Hey, good morning, everybody. How are we doing on this Friday? Actually, it's not Friday, it's Thursday, but tomorrow's a holiday, so let's keep that in mind, okay? When you're trading today, you might want to be in a little bit of cash or maybe just gung ho, get out there and do everything. Who knows? Hey, good morning, Alan. Hey, Jim. Devendra, good morning. Urena, good morning. Tammy, Gold to Mine, good morning. JW, Joe, Donna, good morning. Hey, Chip, good morning. Joe, thank you so much for your morning quote. It's very nice here in the room. And I got to tell you, I think everybody loves it too. So thank you so much for that. Let's come over here. There we go. All right, where are we? Okay. So let me, adjust my chair here a little bit. Okay. So here we are. Yeah, tomorrow's a holiday, so let's keep that in mind. Today is April 17th, 2025. For those who don't know, my name is Rick, and thank you so much for being here. I run, operate, own, manage the Hit Run Candlestick website and the Hit Run Candlestick trading room. I want to thank everybody for being here. We've been doing this a long time, and we've got some long-term traders and long-term friends in here as well. So thank you all for being here. Okay. All right. So the market, I'm still, the other day I had said that the short term we're bullish, the longer term we're bearish. So let me define this a little bit here. Longer term bearish starts up here, and that red line, just follow that red line down. There's the bearish line right there. So the bears still control us on a little bit of a longer term. But if we look here I'm on the daily chart now. And if we look at that line right there, and that line was created on a 60-minute chart, we'll go look at that in a second. But we're still in a bullish uptrend here, fighting the bottom. The bulls are trying to hold the bottom is what they're trying to do. So we had, some pretty good price action. We had some pullback, profit taking, perfectly normal. Then we had this big short covering day. And then really all we've done right here is just simply go sideways. That's all we've done. Everybody gets nervous, me included, everybody. You see a bearish candle, oh my. You see a bullish candle, and well, what are we going to do? That kind of a thing. But we just keep going sideways. Let's look at that 60-minute chart, and you can clearly see that trend right there. Let me get my line here. There we go. So from this low, just follow that little brown line right up there. And you can clearly see that we're still in a bullish trend on the 60-minute chart. Now, what we're trying to do are the shorter term trend, that those bulls that's trying to make that bottom, they're trying to get through that longer trend up here. That's what they're fighting to do. And they're trying not to fall down, because if they trip and they fall down, well, that could be a problem. Back to the daily, they trip and fall down. This right here is the 500 period moving average. If we fail that, then we're headed down to retest some of these lows, if not the very low, and at worst start coming down lower. Believe me, there is nothing to say here that these bulls that's trying to fight this bottom can stay around much longer. And there's really not a lot to say that the bears can stay around a lot longer. This is such a news-driven market right now. We've got to be very careful with that, and it's a little tough to trade, and I think everybody knows that. So you trade accordingly, and you don't be afraid to play with cash a little bit. If you feel the need to trade, go open up a paper account and trade to your heart's content. Practice. See what you would have done if you would have put your money out there. This will pass. I truly believe that this will pass. And, this will pass. Okay. Devendra, a bull flag here on the SPY. If this is what you're looking at, yes. But I got to tell you, it's pretty piss poor. It's underneath. I mean, yeah, that's a bull flag, but it's underneath some angry bears here that keep it down. Okay. So, when you're looking at this and you're saying a bull flag, don't in your mind just think that, wow, it's bullish. It's not bullish till we break out of this downtrend line and get through these. I've changed the colors on this again. These row of dashes right here. That's the 50% retracement. So we need to be above that. And then you can go back. Hooray, bull flag. But right now, let's just stay with that. The bulls are trying really, really hard here. Okay. Hey, good morning, Ed. How are you? Hey, Steve. Good morning. Stefan. Good morning. Vern. Good morning. Thank you all for being here from the social media side of our webcast streaming, I guess, this morning. I absolutely appreciate it. So thank you very much for being here. And for those who don't know, and for those that might listen to this recording a little bit later, we start at 8:45 Eastern in the morning. So let's kind of get going here a little bit. One of the first things I do in the morning is, I start TC 2000. I get that up. The very second thing I do is I bring up live trading alerts, my scanner, and this is where I scan for charts. And I look all over. I've got several charts up, what we call windows. I look at those. I see what's moving, what's not. And then I've got my pre-market here. I've got another one. I should move this over here, and I think I'm going to move this one over too. There we go. This morning, I kind of played with this one. That's why it's a little bit, doesn't have anything in here. So the pre-market, but here's some stocks that it did bring up pre-market that I thought were, worth taking a look at. And DLTR was popping up pre-market here. And you can see DLTR is popping up. And, if we look at that daily chart, we're building a pretty good bottom in here. If we look at the weekly chart, I think that's a better looking chart. I think you can make more sense out of it. And you can see that bottom where we're kind of printing. And we start moving up. It just won't take too much. Get through that 50 period moving average. And then, I see the possibility of a 30% move back up to that 500 period moving average. So DLTR is on my watch list. Here's one this morning that was popping up. Take a look at CGC. That was popping up, and it kind of hit the scans last night as well. I saw that. And you can see yesterday's candle, nice bullish candle here. Looks like we're challenging that 50 period moving average now. And one of the things that I like to do is I'm not much of a bottom picker. It's not to say that I don't get down and play with the bottom a little bit, get in the dumpster. Every now and then I get hungry and want to go climb in the dumpster and get find a cold slice of pizza or something like that. Not really. But, by and large, if you look at the quadrant lines here, these are quadrant lines. By and large, this is just where the bottoms start turning into rallies, or from a downtrend, this is where we pause a lot down in this area before we go down. And see, we're in that area right now. So while I think this looks like it's bottoming, and in hindsight, if it's up here, we're all going to wish, wow, I wish I would have bought it down here. For every time that you bought something down here, about 99 of them are going to continue to go down, and only one of them are going to go up. So the percentage rate, I think it's best to wait till they pop up, give away some of this money here, and then trade the money up here. Anyway, bottom line, this is one of the stocks that the scanner brought up this morning. So here is CGC popping up. When I start to see that show some strength over that 50 period moving average, then we've got the 50% retracement up here of about 30% using the 50 period moving average. So we pop up, 30, 25% just to that 50% retracement. Well, that's a pretty good trade if you ask me, and I think everybody would agree to that. So let's keep our eyes on CGC. Those that have the scanner, put this on your hot list, the list that you keep, your private, not secretive to anybody, just your private watch list. We all have one. And let's keep an eye on that little booger. That just might be something. Another one is the scanner was leaning on some BITO here as well this morning. A lot of the Bitcoin instruments. It was kind of leaning on those. And you can see how that we've hit this bottom here with 3 bars, a bottom so far anyway, with 3 bars. And here we've rallied up. We're building a little flag right in here, or what we call a pop out of the box in our rooms. And that starts to break out here. You can see where that 50 period moving average just might be a target. And then through that, there's some pretty good targets up here with this $20 move. There's the 500. And then we get up into the 200 and the 50% retracement. There's also IBIT that is doing something similar, which they're all going to be about the same, but you may have your preference on what you like to trade. But IBIB is setting up. And then GBTC, yeah, GBDC, doing the same thing. They all kind of look alike, but I know that some people would rather trade this one over that one or that one over this one. So there's 3 of those that I'm keeping an eye on. Also, SCHW popped on the scanner pre-market this morning. And here we are coming off this 500 period moving average. We've rallied up. And you can see here, we're putting in a nice little trend right in here. Look, you can see how those bulls just started working right through there. And here we are, pre-market over the 50 period moving average, challenging that downtrend here. So let's keep an eye on this one. Now, on this one here, I don't know if you follow the cloud at all, but you can see that we're, moving up over that cloud as well. I don't have real time on this one. So there we go. So there's today's candle popping up over the cloud right now. So this might be one to keep an eye on. Not that it might be a super buy today, no, but what it may be is if we keep that close eye on it and Charles there can keep its momentum going, well, it might give us some nice moves up here. You're going to see a pullback, there's no doubt. And then maybe we see, a little higher move here on Charles. So keep an eye there. Thank you, Mr. Scanner, for giving us some of those. Here's one. This is probably the last one I have, I think. UUU, that's popping up pre-market. So when I see something like this popping up pre-market, now that's too high for me to chase, and we're too close to the 200, and we're too close to that 50% retracement. So this is the kind of chart that I want to put on that hot list, my private little watch list. Again, not secretive. I share with everybody. It's just it's a much smaller list, but it's a list where I see stocks that are really showing some potential, and they're not ready for a buy, whatever reason. And this is not ready for a buy because it's too high. So what I'll need is that pullback. Typical trade for me, and this is where the scanner will come in and share that with me, is when we're up, I want what we call a PBO, a pullback buying opportunity right there. So a PBO, it could be in the shape of a 3-8 trap where prices trap between the 3 and the 8, or it could be just a simple pullback inside day, something like that. Either way, having that hot list or just finding these charts on the scanner in general can be very rewarding right in here. So anyway, let's keep an eye on that right there. And I believe that's about all I have today. Let's see. Hey, good morning, S. You're looking at FAST. Yeah, look at FAST setting up. That's a beautiful chart. And this is another one that you can see is over the cloud here. Let me move this way a little bit. There we go. So this one's over the cloud a little bit. See how we've popped up and now we're pulling back? Well, there's our pullback opportunity, our 3-8 trap setup right in here. Now you can clearly see that we need to break out of that top. Some traders are going to wait for that. Some traders are going to be buying right in here in this trap area. But it is consolidating very nice. You're right. Yeah, I like that. Look at the weekly chart. Yeah, I've already got it flagged up here. So fast and all, good looking chart. Thank you very much. Let's see, Urena. You're looking at BRFS, right? Rounded bottom breakout. Yeah, look at that. That's pretty nice. Here we are bouncing off that 500 period moving average. Bounce, bounce, bounce. And finally, the bulls step in with a pretty decent candle in here. And look at that pop out of the box that we're building right there. First target up, I'm always going to use the moving averages because that's kind of that's my shtick. That's what I do. I like that. They're easy. They're always on the chart. They make sense, and they are a trend line. They just move around a little bit, and they're the average. So let's keep that in mind. But look at this, man. We're talking 8%, not too shabby for a $3-4 stock, and then up here to what, almost 15%. Thank you very much there, Irina. Nice, beautiful, nice. Yeah, pop out of the box right there. Okay. Hey, good morning again over here in social. Let's see what you got over here. Hey, Lee, I'm late today. That's okay. Don't worry about it. You're here. I'm cool with that. Hey, Vernon, you're looking at snow. You're too far north if you're looking at snow. Oh, for a long. Yeah. Let's get rid of that line right there. So here's snow moving up. Oh, let's put another line on this now that I think about it. Let's try it this way. There we go. So I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to put another one on there. So we're so close. Let's not worry about that bottom one. So at the end of what? At the end of today, at the end of the week, at the end of something, we're going to need to break out over that trend line. This is a good time to talk about betting in stock trading. So in stock trading, that is exactly what we do, is we bet. Don't let anybody tell you any different. I used to hide from that. I used to not say that online because that's a bad thing. We're not betting. Yeah, we are betting. That is, in fact, what we're doing. But when we bet, what we do is we've got edges that, we've got an edge in the market. And what is that edge? Well, the edge is like having a cool little scanner like this, but there's also an edge of being able to read price action through candlestick signals and to have trend lines or moving average, having rules that aren't just plucked out of the sky. They're actually made from the chart. So I look at this chart here and I see your bottom. I love it, by the way. Okay, I love it. I love the way it's rallied up here. This is what I would call is a doji continuation pattern right here, making this a doji small bodied candle. So we've got this doji continuation pattern, and then we've just gone sideways here, holding at the top end of this candle. I think that's a 2 thumbs up plus. All right, we're riding the 200 period moving average. I think that's a 2 thumbs up plus. We've got that doggone downtrend, and we are below the 500 period moving average. We are below the 50 period moving average. So we've got a lot to chew through here. But now let's take the bet. So I'm going to put up another trend line here, horizontal line. I'm going to put it right there. And right there is just about that 200 period moving average. And that's where we're holding. And if somebody wanted to put it on those lows, that's perfectly fine. So what we've got here is Vernon there. I think it was Vernon, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Asking about this long. So at this point, based on the knowledge of the chart, we're going to take a bet. And the bet is, are we going to break out of that trend line before we break down that trend line? That is very simply the bet. There, you can't split that any other way. That is it right there. So you make that decision whether to enter this chart based on the rules of your chart. So you ask yourself this. Now I'm a pretty maybe a little too simple, but you've got to ask yourself what your risk reward is. So that's what your risk is if you're going to use those lows, and your reward, we're looking at breaking out. So I'm going to kind of split right there, split that line sort of. So we're looking at a little bit more than 1-to-1 risk, not a lot more reward. I'm sorry, a little bit more to the reward side. So I look at this and I have to ask myself, does this seem like the trade that I want to trade? Well, maybe not for me, but is it a chart that I want on my special hot list? Yes, it is. Because once we break out of that trend line, let's run over to that weekly chart. And now look what we've got going on here. Now at the weekly chart, I'm going to come over here and do this. I'm going to draw that. I thought I was. There it is. Nope, still not. Let's try this all over again. Come over here. There we go. There we are. So we start to break out on that weekly chart. You can see, well, and the daily chart will look the same. We will take out that 50% retracement. We'll take out that downtrend line. But the important thing is, if we were to do this now, and I'm going to take it from about right there, okay? Yeah, we'll take it about right. Split the 50% mark. So there's a 23.25% trade once we break out, and I think your safety is a little bit better. Now, with that said, any buying in here, it would certainly make sense if somebody was saying, hey, I'm buying snow and I'm using a stop of 140 or 143, something like that. That would make absolute sense. Vern, thank you very much. I hope that made sense to you on that and everyone else. Thank you. All right. Anyone else have any stocks? Oh, Chewy. Good morning. Is it, how do you, Ed? Can I just say Ed there? Chewy? Is that what you're looking at? Chewy. Chewy's a nice little breakout here. Great little bottom. Look how we're moving up over the 50 period moving average right there. I like that. Very, very nice. I think some things that we want to be careful of. I keep looking over here to this other chart. I have another monitor, and I'm looking at that because over there I have a chart with the cloud on it. And here we are busting above, or how we're busting into the cloud. So I think we're going to need to break out of that 2580 area. So, get a nice breakout and establish that. And then I think we're going to have, a target up into there like that. Now let's move over here. So, a couple of targets there. But the main thing, we're going to need that breakout. So with that said, is this viable? Absolutely. Just put that stop in there. We've got a nice little trend going with the trend indicator. We are over the 50 period moving average. I think there's a few things going very nice for this. So Chewy, I've already got this on my list. I've got it flagged up here. I'm looking good. Just watch for that solid breakout, that good support. Maybe that's the better way to say it. That good support on above that 50 period moving average. Okay. Hey, Daryl, how you doing? Daryl is one of our top posters on our Facebook group. Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate it. And you're logging in from Facebook too. That's cool. I was wondering if that was working. Yeah, we're dialing in from Facebook as well. Let's see. You were triggered into INFA long yesterday. There's one thing I can say about Daryl. If you go to our Facebook user page and you watch some of the stocks he posts, and he posts in there almost every day charts, and man, talking about a beautiful chart. Look at that, man. Pop up, clean, excellent. Better flag that one. Thank you, Daryl. Absolutely excellent. This is going to be a good candidate for this right here. I'm going to come down and put it right there. So we're in that bottom building area. Over 1826, we start to get that break out of the bottom building area, challenge the 200, challenge the 50, up to the 50% retracement, which I happen to think is one of the best targets there are, is about 18%. So that's a nice little move there. Of course, you do have to challenge that 50 first, okay? Beautiful chart. Thank you very much. Thanks. Hey, Kevin. Yeah, CVS, you little turkey butt. Whoops, that's not it. CVS. There's CVS. So I guess there was some healthcare blow up, and CVS is caught into that. So we'll have to watch what CVS does. If we just take a beat for a second, all CVS really has done was fill that gap right there. So let's take a beat on that. Let's, stay calm. Let's see. And I'm saying that because I think some of us are in it. But I would stay calm with this for right now. And really all we're doing is filling that gap. And truth be told, that's not a bad thing. Not a horrible thing. And let's see what happens here. There is a chance that I add to it if it can start showing some support in here. Yeah, UNH had bad earnings. So, everybody in healthcare gets punished, which I'm not sure that that's right, but it is what happens. Okay. All righty, folks. I think I'm out of my time. My clock says I better get going. I want to thank everybody for being here. Remember that the market is closed tomorrow. So, if you feel like you don't want to go into a 3-day weekend with all your positions on, don't be afraid to close them up. Remember to check us out here in Hit Run Candlesticks. And if you want to check out that scanner, make sure you check it out. Live trading alerts. Okay. Thank you, everybody. You guys all take care.